Hello, this is Camden. Just gonna be making a quick tutorial for how I study for Quiz Bowl. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go straight into it. Firstly, QBReader, the main website you should be using. Really shouldn't be using anything else but QBReader when it comes to simulating question practice. So kind of Protobowl's out of date. I would not recommend using Protobowl. It's kind of there's a lot of features on QBReader you get that are much better on there. So like QBReader's got a lot more stuff than that. So first of all, QBReader, you can make an account. There's my email. I'm gonna blur that, but basically, if you go to Toss Up Stats, it tracks all of your statistics, and you can see basically like what your best buzz is, what your best categories are. There's also graphs that it makes of your statistics, and you can put in time periods, see how well you've improved. Like you can see this was my power percentage, and this was how much I negged since last March. You can see I improved greatly. Like I'm powering more than I neg now. But yeah, so it's because I used a lot more QBReader, and recently they added a feature for your starred toss-ups. So you want to start starring toss-ups. This actually has been a feature on Protoball. That was the main reason why Protoball could be argued to be better, but now QBReader's got this feature, so no reason to be using Protoball anymore. You can play toss-ups or bonuses, which is also, I'm pretty sure Protoball you cannot play bonuses. If you go to toss-ups, you can basically select it by a specific set. So if say I wanted to play a pace set, there's all the pace sets. But if you want to play random, and then difficulties. So here's your difficulties for IHSA conference. I say you'll be playing all the way from 2 to 4, maybe 5, because there's so much variety in the IHSA series. But for like any tournament that has an IS-A packet, that's just going to be about 2, 3. If it's IS without an A, it's probably 3, 4. And for tournaments like the small school national championship, that's probably going to be 3, 4, 5. And regular national, like high school national championships, is going to be 4, 5, 6. And IPNCT is going to be 5, 6, 7 for the most part. And I honestly say 7 is the most important part there. But yeah, so that's the gist of the difficulties. You can select your year range. I have mine set to 2014 to 2024 because older packets tend to have answer lines that are not used as often anymore, or have like clues that aren't used as often. Um, there's this AI mode. You can play against an AI. The AI can be the average high schooler, so it'll buzz when it thinks the average high schooler will buzz. Middle school or college, open. You can make it so it buzzes right after the power mark. You can make it so it buzzes randomly in the question. Um, yeah, I sometimes use it, not too often. The power mark toss-ups only, I tend to keep this on all the time. Standard format, I'm actually not sure what this does. I keep it on just in case. Typing to answer. Reading speed, showing question history just is basically like after you buzz something, it's below it. So, yeah, so whatever this is, it's Jefferson. If I press next, which is N, it'll show you the questions below. I accidentally pressed N twice. Your categories, you can do it by percent on Protoball, but I tend to prefer this. So say I want to study literature, it's got all the subcategories and then all the alternate subcategories. So like say I want to study only poetry, which is my best category, a poem which talks about stardust, earth dust, and clouds. Oh, this is probably not right. I don't even know what it's asking for. It's asking for a dream. Shouldn't have buzzed. But yeah, so you can get only poetry questions, for example, which is very nice. One of these. Oh, I don't have any difficulties set. That's why I don't understand some of these. But yeah, I don't really need to be playing too much, just describing what's going on. Yeah, so this is your single player, and of course there's multiplayer. You can make private rooms. You can make join public rooms. For example, there's science. Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and you can also make a public room and just get a bunch of people to join. I'm going to skip the database for a second because that's a very important feature I'm going to come back to. Here's the frequency list. There's made frequency lists for every single category. So say you are really bad at visual fine arts or I'm actually going to do auditory fine arts because I'm going to use that for an example in a bit. So say I'm really bad at auditory fine arts, I can go in here, choose high school, and do top 100, for example, toss-ups only. So these are like in the QBReader database, the most common answer lines approximately. So like some will just include J.S. Bach, but like it'll categorize it as Johann Sebastian Bach. Yeah, you can do that for about. I'm going to keep this tab open because I'm going to come back to this. GeoWord, you won't really need to run into, and the AI neither. About, not so much. And settings is pretty cool. You can change the size of the font. I like mine at 30, but it's not necessarily an agreed upon thing. Most people like it around here, I'd say. I keep it at 30. I apply it to the database as well. You can play sound effects whenever you get it correct. There's a different sound effect for when you get it wrong, whenever you buzz incorrectly, and when you power. So yeah, that's I like having that. It's kind of random, but I enjoy it. This basically light and dark mode. Yeah, so that's the basis of QBReader. I forgot to go over the bonuses, but yeah. So I've been studying a lot of European history, so I can get bonuses about this. Oh, yeah, I don't even remember. It was Louis the 16th. Okay. Yeah, and it just simulates it like a bonus. And if you typed it right, but it didn't accept it for some reason, you can just toggle this. Oh, and like I said, the favorited toss-ups. You can click here and press start toss-ups, and then you'll just get a bunch of toss-ups that you have favorited in the past. Battle of Yeah, I'm trolling. I don't know. I don't know. This is just Henry the Fourth. Okay. Yeah. So this is I like the start toss-ups feature. It's very useful and it works for bonuses as well. So yeah, that's all QBReader. So what I do, that's basically summary QBReader. Now the important part, the most useful part in my opinion, we're on toss-ups, random toss-ups. I'm going to set it to auditory fine arts so I can actually get something out of this. So I'm going to say I'm just playing right, and I don't like that type of toss-up. So like a good instrument question. We need to know a common link instrument. And sort of this was Tommaso Albinoni. Short elevation features in the recapitulation of the first movement of his fifth symphony. So this is just the oboe, I believe. So say I want to find more clues for the oboe, right? I want to find common clues, things that are worth flashcarding maybe. And I'm going to get into flashcarding in a bit. You get the database. So it looks a little scary at first, a little confusing, but all you got to know is you can configure it any way that helps you the most. And you can find common clues. So let's say I want to look for other answers where the answer is oboe. So I'm going to type in oboe, and this setting shows you what part of the question it's going to be looking for. So alt text includes the actual question and the answer. This one is just the question, so the parts on the inside that you're going to be reading and then guessing at. And then the answer is the answer line, so like oboe. So I want to be searching for questions where the answer is oboe. I don't select a set, and you don't really need to change the category because oboe is very specific to fine arts. I always set the minimum year to 2014, and then difficulty I do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I just type random, or I just press random over here, and see it found 6 toss-ups in their database within those parameters that the answer is oboe. So let's see if I can find a common answer. So this instrument plays a lengthy solo in the second move of Johannes Brahms violin concerto. So let's just search Brahms using Control F. See, he only comes up once. What about Pablo Sarasate? He only comes up once. Search Ravel. Maybe Ravel comes up 3 times. Oh, that's Traveler. Yeah. So the Damor, I remember that came up in this question right here. The Damor variety. Ravel also used its slightly larger Damor variety in Bolero. So, and here's another Damor. I think that's the same one. Yeah, it's the same one. Search Bach. Bach also wrote in the Damor variety. So those are things that we know we need to know because they're going to come up in questions. And NAQT and all these other packets, they basically use the same kind of quote unquote canon. Basically, it's a list of answer lines and clues that are just going to be repeated over and over. Obviously, something good to know is the Peter and the Wolf Symphony, or whatever it's whatever piece of whatever genre it is. You're going to need to know all the types of instruments for that because they all represent different animals. But basically, this is very useful. I'm going to go over something I'm probably more familiar with. 1984. This one we're going to have to go more specific to the category of literature because that's an actual year. But here, all these answer lines are for 1984. There's 13. If I type in 1984, see, you're going to miss some, obviously. There's 9 there. But best bet is just to do that. So this one's going to show you a bunch of things you need to know. And like, for example, the protagonist of this book buys a pink coral paperweight in Mr. Charrington's shop. So I can just search Mr. Charrington and I'll see that he comes up 5 times in this whole page out of 13 toss-ups. So that's very worth knowing. Usually I flashcard something if it comes up more than once. So in the first case, it's talking about the paperweight. This one, it's also talking about the pink coral paperweight. This one's also talking about the pink coral paperweight. A pink coral paperweight. And a pink coral paperweight. Oh, actually, no, this last one's talking about how he rents out the room. Having read 1984, obviously, like if you read the book, you would already know this. But you might forget the name, for example, but you might know someone rents out a room. Knowing Mr. Charrington will help you get the question sooner because you'll know the person and then the context after. But yeah, so, oh, and then like, for example, Tango and Aomame travel from this year to a similar one has a Q. That's 1Q84 by Murakami. So you'll see a bunch of things that will repeat. And those things that repeat are the things you need a flashcard. And then once you have all of those down, then you need to start looking for the obscure ones that might come up again, but aren't necessarily repeated. So like, here comes the chopper to chop off your head. I don't know how often that comes up. That comes up twice. It's not as often, but that one will probably come up every once in a while. Like, I'm sure it'll come up again sometime eventually because that's a famous quote from the book, whether it is in Quizable or not. And like this rhyme, for example, those are all things you need to know. I'm sure you guys already know those if you have studied a little bit of literature. But yeah, so that is the basis of QBReader, and I'm going to show you how to the best flashcard way to supplement the database to make it so you can like the best types of flashcards. So I'm going to use this program called Anki. I'll put a link in the description to a tutorial on how to set up Anki for Quizable. But basically, you can set up types of decks for different categories. I have literature, but I'm going to do a auditory fine arts one because I'm not as good at auditory fine arts. Maybe this one. I'm thinking maybe it's spring. Moonlight, maybe. So it's farewell. So duos, I think, is a level 7. Oh, I didn't have any. But I'm going to go to the database. I'm not going to use this toss-up. I'm going to go to the database and type in farewell. I'm going to go to categories, fine arts, because that one might be a little more specific. Look for questions where farewell is the answer. That comes up 7 times within this answer range. And you see the number here is the difficulty, so it comes up fairly often in all sort of categories. So I'm going to go to this card type you guys have probably created. Literature / fine arts. You might not have it named that, but if you use the tutorial in the description, you should have something similar to this. And I will be using my fine arts deck. So let's say I want to do one. It seems that the answered farewell alone is more common than the symphony itself. So I'm just going to do. I'm going to do a different deck. You don't need to. But this one just excludes the author / composer part. So I'm just going to type in farewell as my answer. And now I'm going to go through here and look for common clues. So let's look for 3/8 adagio. Sorry, 3/8 adagio coda. It comes up 3 times. And it's all 3 the same exact clue. So I'm going to find the one that might make the most sense to me, so that way I could learn it the best. The 2-part finale of that symphony ends with a 3/8 adagio coda opening. So that says that. That one's not going to probably be the best because it doesn't say this symphony. We want it to be something that's going to be in quiz bowl format. So here, a 3/8 adagio coda ends the 2-part finale of a work with this title beginning with descending F sharp minor arpeggios. So that's going to be a clue I want to put in here. And also, like, if you don't know the simple ones, you can put those in here too. Like, give this name of Haydn's 45th Symphony. Let's see how many times 45th comes up. Comes up pretty frequently, so we'll just include that one just in case. I'm sure I would get that, but you know, you never know. Let's see. The La Reine Symphony quotes in its first movement an earlier symphony by the same composer title for this word. So that one might not be a good clue because it's talking about a different work that was made by the same composer of a farewell symphony. Let's see how often Le Bévol comes up. That comes up about 7 times, but a lot of the times it's in the answer line. I like this clue. The inscription Le Bévol opens a Beethoven's piano sonata with this nickname, written for Archduke Rudolph during Napoleon's invasion. So that's a clue we can use because let's search Napoleon or maybe Rudolph or Beethoven. Yep, that one's talking about the same thing. This word written in German, this time about the same thing. German. So, yep, so that's a clue that we need to know. It comes up about 4 times, something that could be useful. And another way you could find answer is instead of by playing QBReader and finding something, this is probably the best way to do it if you're new to a category or you're just missing some things that, you know, you could probably find that are most frequent. Go to the frequency list, go to high school 100 is what I usually do. And I'm going to tag this one, fine arts. So let's say I wanted to do Brahms, Johannes Brahms. I can search that. I keep all the settings the same. And it gives me 28. Sometimes it only shows you 25 and 28, but you can just change how many displays. In this case, I want 28. And then I can do the Control F and look through common clues again. This is the quickest and most efficient way. And like I said, Anki is the best. I'll real quickly show you what it looks like with flashcards. So for example, in my literature, these are all of my literature flashcards. I have about 687. I can go click on my literature, and this is the same exact format I used. So the pro to having a format like this is I can make a bunch of flashcards at once. It'll make one for the clue to the card, one for this clue to the card, one for this clue to the card. It's very useful. So this is an example of something that came from that. Shape without form, shade without color, gesture without motion. This is a poem. I'm guessing maybe Easter 1916. It's the Hollow Man. So this is a different type of format. You guys won't have one like this. I made this myself because I've figured my way out around Anki. You might figure something out eventually that works best for you, but what I put in the description is probably the best way to start. But this is called a closed deletion. You basically figure out what the answer will be here, and you can put that throughout the question and whenever you make it. So this should be must enter again the synagogue of the ear of corn. I'm trying to remember what poem that is. I think that's The Refusal to Mourn the Death of a Child by Fire in London by Dylan Thomas. Yeah. So that one I got right. And then you see at the bottom, this is how you rate how easily you got the question. This one, I obviously knew it, and I didn't have any difficulty, so I'm just going to say easy. Souther wrote about white logic in an autobiographical novel that sees one of the first uses of pink elephants to refer to alcoholism. This one is Jack London. That one was pretty easy as well. And you can see if we type in pink elephants into the database, I'm going to get rid of fine arts. Pink elephants will probably come up. It should come up. Maybe I'm going to go into literature, type in just elephants. Oh, it's because I had it in answer. If we go to the alt text and then type in pink elephants, it should come up as a clue for Jack London a couple times. Yeah, see Jack London, Jack London, Jack London. So that's just an example. Like I figured out that was a clue I could use. So, yeah, put that in my flashcard. This one is the Hollow Man, I think. But yeah, just an example. Naipaul. Yeah, Naipaul. Okay, not gonna get distracted. And you can sync it in on Android. There's a free mobile app for this, and you can just link your account. So you just press sync every time you're done, and I think automatically when you close, yeah, it syncs automatically. So you can connect your phone to your computer, have all the same decks on Android for free. On iPhone, it's a pretty expensive app, but you could just use the website, I believe, on your phone, because if you go to ankiweb.net, you can use it on a school Chromebook, for example, so you have free time in between classes or at the end of a class and you have some free time. This is exactly where I just left off. Yeah. I hope I covered everything. I don't think there's anything I'm missing. If you guys have any more questions, leave a comment or contact me somehow. I'll put some contact information in the description. But yeah, hope this helped.